right, welcome to Huddle Up. We are back after a week off from post-spring game hangover, and we had a great time that weekend. And we have somebody with us today who was with us that weekend. We have Mike Williams, smooth, and really excited to have him with us. And of course, Rob Clark with me as always. And we are back at it. I also want to say a special thank you to all our sponsors that we've had from spring game and moving forward, guys who've donated to the cause, joined the club. It's been very successful. Tonight, particularly, I'm going to focus on just Partners Insurance Company, Chip Dimmick, who runs that company, and they were a big supporter of the event. So thanks to all our sponsors. And Mike, thanks for being here. Thanks for being at the spring game, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor to be here tonight.
And I always find this special when I get to do these with one of my former teammates, because again, Michael's a real special guy to me. We have a great bond. We live in the same area. We see each other.
Yes,
I
yes,
seen his, I saw your daughter play basketball.
yes.
Just really cool connections. We ran into each other just a couple weeks ago in an airport after you were officiating a game down in Louisiana. So let's get started. Here we go.
Yeah,
Before we get
yeah.
into your playing days, though, Mike, let me ask you about this. What was your experience like last weekend attending the
Oh,
spring game and the reunion?
it was awesome. Because of being official and family, I haven't been able to be at the spring game probably for 15 years. So one, to go and see my teammates and coaches was incredible. Just being around the guys, talking stories, having a good time, talking about how great we were and being able to laugh at ourselves. But what I really mostly enjoyed was talking to the guys that I never met before, like Fran. I had some great conversations with the Brown brothers. I was able to see Dr. Winter, who, he's Tony winning everybody else, but he was the dean of business when I was there. But he was always so supportive of ship football. And I got a chance to thank one of my heroes who didn't know he's one of my heroes. On Saturday at the breakfast, I saw Jerome Cater, and he was a security guy at Shippensburg. And for me, man, coming to Shippensburg, not seeing a lot of people that look like me, to see him every day in that authority position and talking to him, I felt safe. So to see him last week, man, for the first time since I was a kid, I was able to tell him, "Hey, man, just thank you for being you. Just thank you for being there and being a mentor that you didn't even know you were." So it was a great time. Great time.
Hey, on that note, he bailed us out a couple times too. When we got jammed
Absolutely.
up, you knew you could go to Mr. Cater.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. The weekend was great. And to be able to talk to everybody and experience that, man, it was definitely a great experience.
All right, so let me tack this one onto that question. Okay. You had a little bit of a special honor because your cousin, the one and only Frankie Van Buren, was our keynote speaker. What did you think?
Yeah. It's crazy because even when I was at Ship, a lot of people they didn't realize that we were real cousins. They thought we were like play cousins, but his mother and my mother are sisters. So I've known Frank my whole life. And Frank has been motivating me since the day I could understand the words coming out of his mouth. So to watch him last week motivate his peers, guys from Ship that was there before him, and the current young men, it was just awesome. And Frank has that gift where he can just say the simplest things and it can touch so many different people. And that's what makes him great. I've always been proud to call him family. I feel that way about his brothers and sisters too. But going to college with Frank has always been special to me. So seeing him last week was great. It was funny after watching Frank on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I called him and we talked about it, and we came to a crazy conclusion that the two of us have never really talked about football. We played the same position.
It's
We,
interesting.
we we watched the same plays, but our relationship has always been about family and doing the right thing and academics and goals. We never talked about when we played football together. We just loved each other, and he's more of a brother than a cousin. So to watch him last week and get a chance to hang out with him is pretty cool. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Frank. You know how Frank just has that
Oh,
that personality that people just attracts to him. And the gift that he has is that he can make other people feel special too. Even though he has all these accolades, he makes everyone else feel special and notice when they're in the room with him. So I mean that's my guy, man. I love him. I love him.
I'll tell you what, and he's given the speech, as you said, he told us how to do things the right way. It was,
Yes.
he simplified things.
Yes.
I got fired up, and I did relay that to the kids. I got some adrenaline flowing.
Yes.
I don't know. We got a couple plays left in us smooth. I think we could have gone out, but it would have had to be right after the talk because the adrenaline.
Right after that talk. Right after that talk. But yeah, that's the gift that he has. He definitely has that gift. Yeah.
We got to get Frank into the locker room before the game. Get the guys coming fired up.
That might be a good idea.
And I got to give a shout out to Rob. Yeah, Frank did a heck of a speech. Everybody was kind of pumped up, and then Rob comes in there, and you put a button on it, man. I thought I was just as fired up after you got done talking after Frank did, because it was just it was really a great way to start the whole weekend off. It really was.
Yes.
We would have only lasted 1 or 2 plays, but we would have got 1 or 2 in.
I don't know, man. Smooth looks pretty good. I think
he does. Smooth could still hang.
Hey, it looks good, but these bones and back, they hurt like everyone else.
Okay, so I've always known you as Smooth, and every time I see it, that's what just comes to mind. It's in my brain. Where does the nickname come from?
That is a funny question I get all the time. There's some people to this day that don't know my name is Michael Williams. They think my name is Smooth. But there's all kinds of make-up stories of how I got this name. But in reality, I got it in my neighborhood. I come from a neighborhood where you couldn't give yourself a nickname. Somebody older had to give it to you. So one day I'm in the playground, which is literally right around the corner from my house. I pretty much spent every day of my youth in this playground. And I'm waiting for my age group to come out. But while I'm waiting, some older guys are playing basketball. So I want to play basketball. And anybody who knows me know that I cannot play basketball. But, I want to get out there with the big boys. So I keep saying, I got next. And the older guys, they keep passing me by. Well, maybe after an hour, a guy comes up. His name is Malik. And he says, "Hey, little man, you playing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to play. Nobody won't let me play." And he says, "I got next." So when it was his turn, he said, "Who you got?" He said, "I got him and I got Smooth over there. Come on in and play." And I played the game. I don't think I scored. Probably got the ball stolen 10 times from me, but the name stuck. And when all my friends came out late on that day and I came back around the playground the next day, it was Smooth, 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 Smooth. And the name stuck. So I pretty much had that name since I was 10 years old.
Wow.
A lot of my family members, that's what they call me. My mom always called me that. It's just kind of a name that has stuck. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she has a criteria that only people who knew me in college can call me Smooth. She does not want to see some woman calling me Smooth that did not know me in college. So, she's like, "How do you know her?" She called me Smooth. I'm like, "It's college, man. It's college." So, yeah. So.
Nice. Hey, Mike, let's jump into like what got you to Shippensburg, and I know Frankie was there, prior to you, and then you came on after that. What was the thing that brought you to Ship, and maybe just talk a little bit about your time there, and maybe where'd you come from? Where'd you play high school ball at?
Yeah, man, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, which is very inner city. Frank comes from Maryland, and me and him, we kept in contact throughout my high school career. But like so many other people on this show, I thought I was going big time. I was getting letters from Syracuse University. I went to visit. I was getting written cards from them every week. And after my senior year, Frank calls me and says, "Hey, I know you're doing well, and your mom tell me you're going to all these different places, but if it doesn't work out, give me a call. You can come take a look where I'm at." I'm like, okay. So signing day goes by, March goes by, April starting to go by, and the call stopped. And Frank, right on time, calls me and says, "Hey, man, how's it going?" I'm like, "It's not going." So he started to tell me about Shippensburg. So Frank recruited me.
Yeah.
It also came at a time where there was a lot of transition. I found this out later. Vito got fired. Bot gets hired maybe after spring ball or during spring ball. I'm not sure the timeline. And then Monas is gone. So my initial contact was Bottlary. So I came up to visit. That's when I realized how good Frank was. I didn't know till he showed me some film, and that kind of motivated me because I said, "This is somebody who I know and love. If he can do that, I can do that." So it was kind of an easy recruitment after I got on campus. And what really got me was when I pulled up to Seth Grove Stadium. I mean, I was just at Syracuse and I saw that big dome, but I really could never relate to that.
Yeah.
But Seth Grove was awesome, and I'm like, I want to play here. So Frank recruited me.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, hey, speaking of Seth Grove Stadium, and it doesn't have to be a home memory, but what are some
yeah,
of your best moments, memories from your playing days at Ship?
yeah. There's a lot that come to mind. Everybody always talks about, the 88 game against IUP. I was a red shirt junior, was starting to get some playing time. That was a really big game. I made a couple big plays that game and also scored the game-winning touchdown.
Nice.
So that always meant a lot. Uh, and then come 1990, the Rocky era, which I almost didn't play, but that's another story. We started off really, really strong. We were 2-0 that year in 1990, but we were young because a lot of guys graduated, a lot of guys didn't come back, new coach, all of that kind of stuff. And then after those 2 wins, we lost our next five.
Oh yeah.
And we had Clarion come up for homecoming. It was a tough game. Um, Coming down to the wire, I already scored a couple of touchdowns early in the game. And with 40 seconds left, Brian Gilbert found me in the flat after I missed the block. And I caught it, went 25 yards, and scored a touchdown. But the biggest thing about that play was the whole team ran on the field. And the first person to hug me on the field and get a penalty was Coach Rocky Reese. And I was like, wow, coach, you know we about to get a flag. It's like it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. So that was always big to share that moment with him. Also that year, the last game of the season, we play in New Haven. All they needed to do was win one game, win that game to get to the playoffs, and we smacked them. So my last game at Seth Grove, we beat a ranked team. I scored a couple touchdowns. It was a great day. Bill Pettyjohn scored like 4 or 5 touchdowns. All of the seniors played well. So Shippensburg's been really good to me, man. Football has always been uh, uh, very important to me, man. Good times, good times.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
I got to interject
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
just a memory for Smooth, and it's not football related. It's your fraternity. And
Mm.
watching you perform step routine in the
Yeah,
cafeteria, and again, a guy that didn't have a lot of exposure
yeah,
to, I was like, holy crap. And I knew you were, I don't know if you're a gymnast, a tumbler, or whatever we call you. You could do some amazing stuff when you do
yeah,
that thing where you could do forward, freeze, and go into
yeah,
reverse. I don't know how you
yeah,
control your body, but I'll just,
yeah,
that had an impact on me. And we have a
yeah,
club right now at my high school where the kids are doing step. And I always
yeah.
tell the story. One of my buddies used to do that in college. And when you guys are as good as him, then you
Yeah.
got
Oh, that's awesome. Well, in my younger days, I was a gymnast. So I used to be able to do backflips and all that kind of stuff. So those are fun times. I used to do it on my birthday just to show my kids. And then when I turned 40, I almost threw my back out. So that has been retired. The backflips is over. Those days are over
I'll tell you what though,
now.
man. So Howie Guarini put together the Mike Williams highlight video. And I didn't really know much about you, Mike.
Yes, yeah,
I'm watching this highlight video,
yeah,
and I see you go over the pile on the goal line. It's like it's like a something in
yeah,
one. You
yeah.
you cleared people who were standing straight up. You were airborne like no one I've ever seen. And if anybody's watching this and they don't, you got to go watch Howie's highlight video because Mike, you flew. You were going.
I'm not a basketball guy. I can't jump, but I used to watch Walter Payton when I was little, and
That's
I
what it
used to jump.
reminded me of.
Yeah, yeah. I said that's what I wanted. If I ever get the chance, I want to do it, and I did it a couple times in high
Yeah.
school. But in '88, I did it a couple times, and I was able to do it on that video in '90. So yeah,
That
that was
that
pretty fun, man.
Walter Payton that's exactly what it reminded me of, man. You went up,
Yeah,
over, and
yeah.
untouched.
And to hear my mother, God rest her soul, she saw me do it and she believed that I invented it. That's what she said. Mike invented. No, mom, I didn't invent it. But if she was here today, she would tell you that I invented jumping over the top. But I did not, mom. I didn't. But
You got
that's what mothers are for,
you
right? They're
gotta
supposed
love
to love
moms.
you
Yeah,
up
you
and
gotta love your
tell you you're
mom.
the greatest.
That's
Gotta love
classic.
your mother. Got to.
And
Got
then
to. Yeah.
you mentioned in your previous answer Bill Pettyjohn, and
Yes.
just some of the other guys that you played with. You talked about. Talk about some of those guys who were just like key players, maybe even influences on you and your career.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, played with some great guys. The one thing about Bill Pettyjohn, who basically held the all-time rushing leader until John Kuhn came into town, was he was great academically.
Mm.
So we used to be roommates and we used to drive to away games, and this guy is studying the entire time. I was just amazed. And I want to say that all 4 years he was there, he won the academic
Mm.
award. So he's one of the greatest players I played with great academics. And he's younger than me, but that motivated me.
Yeah.
Another guy who, in my opinion, was the greatest offensive person I've ever seen play at Shippensburg was Winston Horshaw.
Mm.
And he had the all-purpose yardage until John Kuhn came along as well. But the thing about Horshaw, Winnie, is that he played defense for 2 years.
Yeah.
He only played offense his last 2 seasons. So, I mean, he was great. Steve Muchowski, he played for us for a year, quarterback. He was tough. Bobby Plummer, another guy who doesn't get a lot of credit, was one of the most hard-nosed running back that I've ever seen. And he was a little guy, but just tough as nails. Jeff Lucas, who was definitely one of Rob Clark's connections to throw the ball to, was great. Flyer Steyer, Dean Steyer. So there was a lot of guys who were really good players, better men than players that I had the fortune of playing with. Defensively, Pickett and Shane Maines, like I don't think anyone else made a tackle in my 3 years with them. Or I'm sitting on the sideline listening to the coach about what we're gonna do next, and I just hear Maines, Pickett, Maines. I'm like, oh, can somebody else make a tackle? But I mean, those guys were just extraordinary, man. So some really good athletes, and of course Rob Davis,
Yeah.
really good friend of mine. Really was so happy for him with his journey. He had a lot of personal things that happened when he went on the ship, and just to continue to press on and become a NFL player and still in the NFL is just something I think they need to make a movie about Rob Davis one day, you know. So that was great. Another I worked at Shippensburg for a couple years. So I was able to see some guys after me that I thought was incredible. Jamie Ware, who you had on.
Oh, yeah.
I was working and when Brent Grimes and John Kuhn was there. So there's been a lot of great football players. I'm thankful that I was able to play with a lot of them and be able to watch them as well.
It's always amazing to hear you guys like you tell their stories of these guys and some really great
Yeah,
players coming through ship. And like you said, a lot of guys you never hear about.
yeah,
A lot of guys unheralded, don't get a lot of recognition, not in,
yeah,
this and that, but
yeah.
have a huge influence.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Another person, I gotta say this, Mr. Automatic, Howie. Like I never saw a kicker get so much love from the community like I saw Howie did.
Yeah.
Because he was a great guy, and I don't remember him missing a kick either.
Mhm.
So I mean, you talk about great Hall of Fame players, you know, Howie's the man. Howie's the man. And you guys know he's a better guy than he ever been an athlete. And he's a great Hall of Fame athlete. Like
Yeah.
those are the kind of guys that I found at Shippensburg that were great players, but are better men since playing.
Great.
Next up, we're going to talk a little more about your adult life, but I have to focus on what's behind you. You got to tell the story behind the Pac-Man machine.
uh, I came to grad school in '92, and in '93 I was walking through the Cub and I saw this pretty young lady playing the Miss Pac-Man machine, and I went up to her and we started dating. And 3 kids later, and 28 years of marriage, she became my wife. But she's always loved Miss Pac-Man. So probably about 3 or 4 years ago, we went on vacation and I saw they had those miniature Miss Pac-Mans that you can buy. And she played it the whole week we was at the Poconos. So her following birthday, I went, found that on a site, went and got one, got it to the house, put a balloon on it. And if she was here, she would tell you that's one of her favorite gifts that she ever got from me was a Miss Pac machine. So guys, happy wife, happy life.
Boom.
That thing has got me out of trouble in the last 3 years. Hanging out with you guys last weekend, I got the Miss Pac-Man machine to help me out.
Nice.
That's classic because as
Yeah.
adults, we need that sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
while we're on that topic, talk about your
Yes.
adult life, specifically your professional life, but also as an official. What led you down that path? Tell some of the, stories, some of the exposure you've had. Just real quick, I ran into you in that airport. You were
Yeah.
just at a bowl game. Like that was fantastic. Like I was so excited. I'm like asking you a question. What was that like?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool celebrity status to be an
Yeah.
official at that level. So tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. It came to me by accident, really. You know how people try to find life after football, and what are you going to do to stay connected? So when I first moved to Harrisburg for Chapman, I coached with him for a year at Bishop McDevitt, which was a great experience. Then I got a job at Milton Hershey where I coached there for 3 years. But my job at Milton Hershey as an administrator was like from 1 to 9. So I really couldn't get to practice. So something was missing from football. So I played flag football and then I stopped once I started having kids. And one day I'm walking in Giant and a guy I used to play with named Phil Salusti, Bloomsburg alumni. But he says, hey man, I know you're not playing flag anymore. You ever think about officiating? And honest to God, in my entire football career, I have no memory of officials. I was a captain. I went out to do I don't know what they look like. I had no idea what they did. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I went to a meeting. They gave me a game at Lingelstown. Little kids, 6-year-olds. And Fran and Rob, I was overwhelmed. I
Nice.
had no idea what a ball was, what I was supposed to do. I got yelled at, but I fell in love with it. And then they gave me a check for $75. I'm like, I get paid for this? I thought it was free. So I really enjoyed it. Start doing little kids, start doing middle school and ninth grade. And I thought that's where it would be. One day I got an email. I guess I was just on the email roster of the high school officials about a clinic in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I go to this clinic and I did not know it was a college clinic for officials. So these guys took it real serious and they talked about the discipline and the studying the rules and staying in shape. And it really, I was like, okay, that sounds good. I'm just here to hang out with my roommate. Well, part of the clinic was the next day you would go to a scrimmage, and they sent me to Bowie University in Maryland, Bowie, Maryland. Well, Frank's brother George went to Bowie. So I said, okay, I'll go. So I went out there. I'm like, this is pretty cool. I could tell my cousin I officiated the same football field that he worked at. Didn't think nothing of it. 2 days later, I get a call from a guy named Jim Kapoor in Allentown that says, hey, we want to offer you a position working in the Centennial Conference. I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's a Division III conference. And I say to the guy, I haven't worked a varsity high school game yet. And he said, that's okay because you haven't learned any bad habits. I could teach you. And after that, I worked my first college football game before my first high school varsity game.
Wow.
And I just got into it and I kind of moved up fast. I went from Division III to FCS in 4 years. I worked in the MEAC conference, which is a historically Black conference. And in 2022, I got hired full time. So for the last 3 years, I've been on a MAC crew, which is Kent State, Northern Illinois. But as part of the COC, you do Big Ten games. So I've had Nebraska versus Minnesota. I had Penn State games. Last year I had Rutgers versus Illinois. I had Northwestern my first year because I called you up, Rob, about being at Northwestern. And officiating, and people don't realize this, is like playing football. It's a team. You're out there with 50,000 people and everybody hates you except the other 8 guys on the field with you, right? It's discipline, it's control. I was taught that when you throw your flag, that is a part of your character. So it better be right. every time you throw it, that's integrity. So I want to make sure when I throw it, I got something right. We watch film and you got to eat right, you got to work out because the one thing about officiating, guys, is I get older every year, but them kids stay the same age. So it's been a great experience. I know I'm on the end of my career, so every time if I'm at a practice or I'm at a film study, I take it like it could be my last because you never know. But it's been way more than I ever thought it would be. But football has been great to me. Really has.
I think it was,
Really has.
I was very impressed because the next morning, Saturday morning, after Friday night at the hotel, here comes Mike walking down in his workout gear, and he's going to go work out while the other 20 guys are in there drinking coffee and trying to get their act together again.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we were doing Bloody Marys, Fran.
Yeah, that's right. We did have Bloody
Right
Marys,
next
Robin. I
door. Right next
appreciate that.
door.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I
got
mean,
me
I,
back
I
on
had I,
track.
I I had a few adult
Oh
beverages,
yeah.
but I looked at it as Saturday. I would usually be at a scrimmage, so let me get a little workout here. So, and then I was able to enjoy the rest of the festivities with you guys.
Nice. It was great having you. Now,
Yeah.
you were around the game, you were out on the field, saw the players and all of that. Maybe give us a little bit of insight. Especially you as an official and what
Yeah.
you see at the Big Ten level. What
Yeah.
did you think about what you saw on the football field from the young Raiders?
Well, first I was impressed that they showed up Friday night.
Yeah.
And even if Mac forced them to come, they still came and they engaged with the
Yeah.
older guys. So I
Hmm.
was impressed off the bat with them. They were asking me questions. Who are you? When did you play? Like I thought that was impressive. So that taught me a lot about the culture. Going down and watching these guys, I mean, they're obviously young, but the way that they competed, that's a big word that I hear a lot from coaches. How do you compete? They went after each other, play after play, and I was impressed with that. It was one of the few times in my officiating or playing career where the offense was ahead of the defense,
Hmm.
right? Usually during the spring, the defense is stopping everybody and the offense can't move the ball. But the offense was moving the ball pretty good on the defense. Now, I know Mac, I'm sure he's not happy about that, but I was very impressed about how far along the offense was. But they're good, they're scrappy, and even though I might work in the MAC or in the Big Ten, some of the best football I've seen has been in the PSAC, and some of those players are some of the best. So they know they're going to play a great conference with a great schedule and great teams, and I think they'll be up for the challenge. Talking to Mac, I'm sure they're a piece away here, a piece there at this position, and the difference about Division II and Division I is depth. Hopefully they don't have any injuries, so some of those top players that I saw can continue, but they look scrappy, they look young, they look hungry. And the best thing about sports, and you guys know that, is when you're the underdog. But nobody's those guys at IUP and Slippery Rock, they're not talking about little old shit. And this is when we could sneak up and bite them right on the kneecap. So, I was impressed. And so proud to be out there and call myself a Red Raider watching those guys go after it.
I think that's one of the things that that the reason I'm even doing this, and one of the things there's two reasons I'm doing this. One is Mac. I mean, Mac is he's
Yes.
impressed me from day one. We've been at this for 3 years, but it's also that and you talked about it with your officiating. It's that reconnection. Uh,
Yes.
3 years ago, when I got on the football field for spring game, that was the first time I've been on the football field in 25, 30 years.
Yes.
And it was just cool to be out there.
Yes.
And getting close to those players and talking to them, getting to know them personally, it's really been one of the cooler experiences. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little
Yeah.
bit about maybe what RR4L is trying to do and maybe the impact that can have?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's a couple of things that I'm really impressed with. I'm glad you asked that question because I didn't get a chance to say this to you guys this past weekend. But first, to be able to connect with all of our heroes and stars from the past. And I'm not talking about my era. I'm talking about 60s, 70s, to bring that together so people know that if I was here in the 70s, I've had the same experience that you have in 2025. I think that is remarkable. Not only from playing, but from adjusting to college to mentoring. I heard you talked about mentorship and careers. I think that is just amazing. And it also gives guys, especially like myself, who hasn't been there in a while, is to reignite the fire of how come Shippensburg was so important to me, especially the football team, and for me to make sure that I reach back financially, with my words of wisdom, with my time to give back. So I've been all on the phone with guys from my area
Nice.
saying, "Hey," and they're trying to get back to the golf, and I think that's what it's about. Because sometimes in life you forget about how important those 4 or 5 years were in your life because life, you got family, you got kids, you got jobs, you got all these other kind of things going on. But we cannot forget about what has such a strong impact in our life. And our Red Race for Life, man, you guys have done it. You have started something that I'm so glad and fortunate that you did. And I think it's going to be important for the veterans, for the current kids, and for the future. So I'm very, very proud of you guys for stepping up and starting this. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Smooth. One of my favorite memories from this past weekend was your face when you were going into the locker room. You were so excited.
Yes.
You were like a little kid, and you
Yes.
just wanted to see that locker room. And again, I remembered you like we were in college when you first
Yes.
showed up, and you're this young kid. You look
Yes.
like that again in your face. And when you
Yeah.
came out, I said, "What'd you think?" You were like, "That is amazing."
That's
Yeah, that was
awesome.
special.
Yeah, that was very awesome. To go and see the locker room and see the work and the money. And then as an adult, no, that comes from funding, that
Yeah.
comes from alumni, that comes from this group. That meant a lot to me, to see that and know that, hey, I want us to have all of the things that the schools that we compete against have as well. And our R4L has started the ball rolling, and now it's time for the rest of us to just get on board and push that thing to the top, so we can be the top athletically, academically, socially. We're raising young men. So, we want to be able to support them like we were supported. There was a lot of people at Ship that helped me get to be where I am, and it's our turn now.
You bet, man. Yeah. And so next week, our next podcast is going to be Bryson Musina, a young guy who was studying at stud quarterback back in early 20s. So, yeah, thanks again, man. And thank also to our sponsors, Partners Insurance, and all those people that made it all possible. Till next time, Mike, Rob.
Right.
Take care, man.
Thank you, guys.
See ya. Love you guys.
It's great. Great.